This is the Atlanta Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hi everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick for another edition of the Atlanta Small Business Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today we're so excited to have with us Miss Leslie Kuban and Mr. Kevin Wilson. Leslie is with FranNet. You have seen her on our show before. She is a franchise expert here in the Atlanta market. And we're also joined, as I mentioned, by Kevin Wilson, who is with Buzz Franchise Brands. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, sure. So let's kind of jump right in here. You know, when people think of franchises, as we've spoken about before, right away their mind kind of goes to food service, the Dunkin' Donuts, the McDonald's of the world and such. But there's a whole big, great world out there of some phenomenal franchises that are service-based, right? Talk to us a little bit about that, Kevin.
Yes, so that's the industry we're in. Our brands are all service-based, and I think some of the benefits that people obviously know the McDonald's of the world, they drive by them every day, but one of the benefits of a service business is first, the investment's a lot less than what a normal fixed bricks and mortar would be.
Sure.
I think getting it open can be a lot quicker, which is, there's no lease build out, there's no negotiating a location. You can be up and running within 60 to 90 days, which I think is a huge benefit.
It really
and then
is.
The third thing I think is that the customers they're very loyal. If you can get in front of these customers and start spending time with them on a weekly basis, we try to get in front of our customers once a week, once every 2 weeks with our brands. You really develop a relationship that becomes loyalty based, and you'll have them for years to come. So it really becomes a recurring revenue business. And I'm sure Leslie sees a lot of those as well.
Yeah, is that pretty much?
Yes, and another key benefit is when people go to grow their business,
right,
with a service concept, you can do that a lot faster and a lot more cost effectively.
Okay.
Like if you have a cleaning business and you're putting some more money into marketing and advertising and you're growing your customer base,
right,
you don't have to invest an extra $300,000 in another brick and mortar location.
Sure. And wait, 5 years to get that money back.
Right, right. So you can, a great thing about service concepts is you can kind of ease into your growth. Your growth of your customer base warrants the added expenses that you have of growing the business.
Yeah,
so it becomes more cost effective for someone to grow.
That's right. Easy to grow, and as you pointed out, Kevin, earlier, easier to start and quicker to generating revenue. So many franchises, and we talked about this on previous shows, that, okay, you bought the franchise and you're not opening for a year. By the time you do the site location and you pick out the lease and you work with the lease and the sign company and everything else, and people want to get going usually once they've made the decision to make the leap and acquire a franchise, and in the service-based business, it does allow you to do that much quicker, doesn't it?
Much quicker. And I think one of the things that's important when you choose a service business is making sure that company has great experience in attracting customers and helping that business owner grow.
Right.
I mean, when you have a bricks and mortar, you've got constant drive-by traffic to pull people in. A service-based business is very different. I mean, you've got to be able to get to the homeowner in an effective, cost-effective way, but demonstrate an ability to onboard those. And so, I think that's one of the things we try to do with all of our franchisees is really help them scale quickly by capturing customers.
What are some of the benefits the customer enjoys by having their needs met by a service business franchise?
Well, first, I think macroeconomics are really working in our favor. I mean, the baby boom generation is getting to that age now where they've made a lot of money. Now it's time for them to really enjoy themselves. They don't really want to be bogged down with a lot of that day-to-day stuff at the home.
Right.
Similarly with that younger generation, they're not really being raised in the home of actually doing things in the home, of fixing things or cleaning the homes. Certainly we see that a lot. So I think what a customer gets from us is it's a local business with a lot of national support. And so they feel like they're working with a real professional team, not just a mom and pop operator in the area. So.
Sure. So for those people that are watching us today having this conversation, and obviously I introduced you as Kevin Wilson with Buzz Franchise Brands. What is Buzz Franchise Brands? Tell us a little bit about those brands and how you help consumers and obviously people get into their own business.
So in our world, we're known as a multi-brand franchising company. We have three concepts. The first one is Pool Scouts. It's residential pool cleaning. Our goal there is to professionalize the residential pool cleaning business, which historically has been an unprofessional business. Home Clean Heroes is our take on residential cleaning. So when people think of that business, they think of Molly Maid, Maid Brigade,
Right.
Perhaps the Cleaning Authority. And then our third business is British Swim School. And that is is teaching young toddlers, babies, all the way up to adults how to swim. So those are our three businesses. And then supporting all three of those brands, there's dedicated management teams, but then supporting all three of those brands is the expertise of Buzz Franchise Brands, which we were the founder of Mosquito Joe, as Leslie has mentioned. We've got a lot of experience in franchising, and our shared services format really helps all of those brands feel like much larger companies than they are.
And as we mentioned earlier, the benefits of owning a service-based franchise are everything that we just mentioned and more. What are we missing on that? What are some of the benefits a franchise enjoys by owning one of the types of brands that you have?
I think first is in addition to the things I mentioned earlier about just being able to scale the business, get open quickly. I think you've got a business that has the combined learnings of all of the franchisees. So one of the things we're very good at doing is working with our existing franchisees, learning from them, and then sharing those best practices across all the other franchisees. I think it just helps make us better. I think we've got a great analytic platform. So as a business owner, when you get out of the gates, your hair is on fire. You feel like you've got a pit in your stomach. You're nervous when you're starting out your business.
That's right.
One of the things a good franchisor brings to the table is that ability to coach them through those early stages of fear and get them to a point where they really see they have the skills and they can make this work. The analytics side of us really helps them figure out what the most important things are in that business to watch and track and make sure that they stay on track.
For sure.
What I would weigh in on that is the shared concept part can be a real benefit to franchisees in a variety of ways. In that, as Kevin said, they have the infrastructure of call centers, of knowing how to market and attract customers online.
Right.
A lot of times with younger companies and younger franchise brands, they may be good at their service,
Right.
but they don't get the importance of the franchising bit. So at companies
Right.
like Buzz, when we're scouting brands that we want to work with
Sure.
and recommend to our clients, we're really looking, not only is it a viable industry, is it a service that is in high demand and will continue to be,
Right.
but you've got to look at the parent franchise organization as well, and do they have the resources to be a good franchisor?
That's right. That's right.
So that, and to know how to pace with the scale of the franchise system.
Right.
Because a franchise with 10 franchisees has very different needs than a brand with 100 franchisees.
That's
And
right.
understanding that know-how is something that is critical that a company like Buzz brings to the table and
right.
helps us feel comfortable recommending to our clients as a good opportunity to consider.
Yeah, you guys at FranNet have done, as Kevin just mentioned, a great job of kind of doing the pre-vetting, if you will, to say we're not even thinking of this franchise system because of some of the things that we've heard or seen or experienced firsthand. So, and that's a very important element, right? Because
Yes.
somebody might be flipping through Entrepreneur Magazine and go, wow, this looks like a great ad. I think I'll buy this franchise. When in reality, you might be sticking your toe in a pond full of alligators, right?
Yes, just because a business has offering franchise licenses doesn't mean that they should. And
That's a good point.
Kevin has
Right.
seen that. I have seen that.
Sure.
There's many people that don't know what they're getting into
Right.
when they franchise their
Yeah.
business concept.
Sure.
Because you may be great at making pizzas,
Right.
but you got to be good at franchising.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a lot that's involved in being
Sure.
good at franchising.
That's
So, we're kind of vetting on both ends
Yeah.
before we include a brand into our portfolio. We're talking
Right.
to their franchisees. We're
Sure.
looking at the bench strength of the
Yeah.
franchisor.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we want to make sure that any opportunity that we're recommending to that first-time business owner who doesn't know what they doesn't
Yep.
know, they're starting off by looking at something that has some legs to it
Right.
from the get-go.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And we've talked about it previously in other shows that you've joined me on, where the person that comes in that says, and in this case, I'm not necessarily a good swimmer, or I don't want to be a maid. You don't have to be a good swimmer or a maid in order to buy one of these franchises that Kevin's talking about, do you?
Yes.
Talk to me
Yes.
about that.
Well, right. So, Home Clean Heroes, one of Buzz's brands, is in the residential cleaning service industry,
Right.
which is a fantastic industry.
Yeah, I know.
There's so
Huge.
many success stories
Yep.
in that type of a business, but nobody comes into my office saying, if today's my lucky day, I'm going to walk out of here owning a cleaning service business.
Right.
But when someone really does their due diligence and looks into how scalable that business is, the recurring revenue,
That's right.
daytime hours for
Yep.
the owner as well as the workers,
Sure.
there's so many benefits to it.
That's right.
Something.
And as you mentioned earlier, Kevin, we're at a point now as baby boomers and even the generation behind us that goes, can't we hire somebody for that?
Right.
Not
how I want to spend my time. I'd like somebody
Right.
else to do that for me.
Everybody is uber crazy now. They want an app for everything, whether it be their groceries or their cars or whatever the case might be. So if there's an app for that, we're getting a cleaning person in our house and getting that taken care of, right? Yeah, it's incredible. So what do you see the benefit is for those new to exploring franchising to work with Leslie and her team at FranNet?
Yeah, I mean, I think if people are interested in changing the course of their lives, the direction in which they're going, they really want to get into business ownership, I think franchising is a great place to start. I think if a good franchisor should be able to demonstrate they can reduce the risk or increase the likelihood of success when they get in there, and I think that's something we do. I think others do it well. I think Leslie and Kelly and the folks at FranNet are great intermediaries in helping make that happen for those people and giving them good guidance along the way. I get an enormous amount of satisfaction. My passion comes from just getting up every day and just helping people get into their own business. I know Leslie shares the same thing.
Yeah.
As much as our business is cleaning homes, cleaning pools, teaching kids to swim, which is a really noble part as well, teaching people to survive in swimming. What I really like doing is the emails, the calls I get that said, you've changed our lives because we now are doing something we really like doing. That's what I like.
Yeah,
So.
and I bet you get a ton of those
Yep.
emails. 'Cause
We
I know,
both do.
Yeah.
We both do.
Yeah, because and to have somebody, like Leslie, that's going to hold your hand through the process. I've opened up a number of businesses, as I've mentioned to you before, and I never had that go-to person. I've never opened up a franchise. My bad. I'll never do that again. If I open up a company, I'll probably go the franchise way. I know that you know how I feel about that. But certainly to have somebody such as yourself that you can say, hey, I'm going to enter into this. I'm going to spend a whole lot of money one way or the other. And to have somebody that's been there, done that can kind of show me the ropes and say, do more of this, do less of that, be careful of this, don't get caught up in that, right, is huge.
Yes, and on both counts. That's
Right.
what a good
That's right.
franchisor is offering all along the way.
Sure.
I know one thing that Kevin and his team are great at is making sure that people looking at any one of their brands really knows what it takes to be successful.
Right.
This is the role that the owner has in our business. These
Right.
are the skills that you need to have to be successful. This is what you need to be prepared to spend in terms of marketing to launch your business. So yes, support comes from us in our role at
Right.
consulting,
Yeah.
but starts from the first conversation that a potential
It
franchise
absolutely
candidate
does. And
has.
so much of what we rely on, what Leslie relies on, is referrals going forward. Referrals from franchisees, referrals from customers, new business, and so our reputations mean more to us than anything else. And so making sure that we can stand behind what it is we say we're doing is really important. That's part of our part of the core values that we live by here.
What advice would you give to people just starting to explore business opportunity through franchising?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it. The first thing I would do is get an independent advisor that can help you, like Leslie and her team. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, they'll give you good guidance. But if it's a franchise opportunity, first and foremost, put your questions together, go through the discovery process that the franchisor has laid out for you. And then most importantly, this is the critical part, get on the phone with existing franchisees. There's a list of them in the back of the FDD. And just start calling them and asking them questions. And the key when you're doing that is we have franchisees that do well. We have some franchisees that have room to improve.
Right.
The key thing to do though is to talk to them about do they like the business, understand the business, do they get the support from the franchisor? So I think you can get so much information from existing franchisees. That's the most critical part, I think.
Yeah, I would second that. There's no question about it. And I think that it's a mistake if prospective franchisees don't do that, right? It's shame on them if they've got this plethora of information out there from people that have already gone down this road and they never contacted them. what are they thinking, right?
Totally agree.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the closest thing to a crystal ball
Yeah,
that we
it really
have
is.
to
For sure.
seeing what it would be like.
That's right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly of owning that
That's right.
kind of business.
Yeah.
And I think what I would add to that is to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, when they start this notion of I want to open my own business,
Yeah.
they have usually it's a fantasy about owning a certain kind of business,
Yep.
or they think that they have to take what they've been doing in their working world,
Yeah,
where they've been
we've spoken
employed.
about that. That's right.
If it's IT, well, I should start an IT
Exactly.
business. So
Sure.
my 2 cents is keep an open mind. There's many, many businesses
Right.
in franchising where they will teach you how to run a business
Sure.
and how to run their business.
Sure.
So you actually have many more options.
I would suspect that the people that own your maid franchise don't go out and clean houses every day, correct?
No, we'd be real concerned if we found out that's what they were doing. I mean, really, what we're looking for, Jim, is we call them our PhDs. We're looking for people that are just passionate, hungry, and driven to be successful.
I love it.
And we can take them and we can give them the training that they need on the business, on the technical part of the business. Pool Scouts, as an example, has a technical component to that business with the pools. We've got all of that covered for them. It's all part of our training curriculum.
Yeah.
We just want people that, are hungry to succeed, and they want the support from us to help them succeed.
What percentage of your franchisees have you found across your brands where the individual is still working? They still have a full-time job. They love what they do for a living, but they do want to have, as we've talked about, something on the side for retirement or something just on the side to grow, because it only takes maybe 10 hours a week of their time to do the books or to hire people or what have you.
It depends on the brand, but it can be anywhere from 40 to 60% are continuing to keep their existing job and hiring a general manager to run the business. Oftentimes it's a spouse running the business. Across all three brands, I think one of the things maybe your viewers might find surprising is well over half of our franchisees are women-owned, being run by women.
Really?
That was a big surprise for people when we owned Mosquito Joe, because it's, they had this view that this outdoor pest control company, something that's a little dirty with chemicals, like what we've talked about earlier. This is about, managing and leading employees and working with customers. I mean, the product, the service, that can change, but those are the two things that we want our franchisees working on.
And there's right now, because the economy is doing so well, there's a tremendous amount of financing for these kinds of things, right? I mean, one way or another.
If someone has good credit,
Yep.
there's different types of SBA loan programs
Yep.
out there. What a lot of people don't know is there's a way to utilize monies that are in a 401k or an IRA in a strategic way that's not triggering penalties or
maybe borrowing
or
against
taxes
it or something like that.
And that might be seed money for an SBA loan. So a lot of people looking at service businesses may do a combination of those
I would add to that too. I think one of the things we've seen, and Leslie may have seen this as well, over the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years, is we've got in this full employment economy, we're seeing fewer people willing to take a risk because they've gotten comfortable in their environment, in their employment environment. That's a lot of big business, and that's a lot of big business that can change fairly quickly when we do jump into a recession. And a recession is coming. I don't know when it's going to come. Nobody really knows, but we know it's going to happen because it always does.
Right.
You want to be prepared when you go into that cycle. I personally, when things are going well like this, my bias is now's the time to double down and invest and look in something. A lot of people, though, what we're finding is they're sitting on the sidelines and they're waiting for the nudge from their company, whether it's through a layoff or some other form. My advice would be, go out now while you've got a job that's paying well and take some risk.
Leslie Kuban from FranNet and Kevin Wilson for Buzz Franchise Brands. I want to thank both of you very much for joining us here on the Atlanta Small Business Show. I know our viewers are going to get a lot out of it. And for people that are watching us have this discussion right now, if you're on the fence, you got this young lady right here, Leslie Kuban, that is completely open for business to talk to you. No strings attached, no fees. Just come on in and talk to her and say, hey, here's what we're thinking. What do you got for us? What would you recommend? So again, folks, thank you very much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Great.
Jim, nice to be with you. Thank you.
You too.
Thanks for watching Atlanta Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick. This has been a JBF Business Media production.